would like to start with Laura as an introduction.
All right. I think you can hear me, right? So I'm Laura Katalik. I grew up in rural Yankton on a small family farm. I was active in 4-H, and through that you learn a lot of record keeping and keeping kind of skills. I went to Yankton High School, graduated, went to USD, and I have a bachelor's and a master's in education. And then I went on to be teaching at the middle school, and so that's kind of my upbringing there. Um, I'm running for county auditor for one basic reason, and that is trust. So families and businesses who fund it know that things are done right. I will advocate for updated technology, streamlined processes, and strong staff training so the auditor's office delivers accurate results on time every time. The county auditor's office may not always make headlines, but it is one of the most important roles in the local government. It protects your tax dollars. It oversees fair and accurate elections. It ensures transparency in how our county operates. In short, it safeguards the systems that keep our Constitution and our finances working. And that responsibility deserves steadfast, honest, and detail oriented leadership. I'm not running to be a politician, I'm running to be a professional, someone who believes numbers should add up, records should be accurate, and the public should always have access to clear, reliable information.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Vandertyg, and I am running to be your next county auditor. Um, to the table, I bring over 10 years of experience in finance, with that being my time spent at the county treasurer's office and also the city finance office. In these roles, I have assisted with the elections, licensing, whether issuing new or renewing them, budgeting, budgeting, that's a big one. Budgeting and just the day-to-day operations of keeping the local government running. I was born and raised in Yankton, where I met my husband, and we have chose to raise our daughters. I enjoy being part of the community where I am a part of the Booster Club, the Yankton Booster Club, and I also volunteer with a lot of the different sports activities for the children. And I also teach a youth religion class on Wednesdays. I am committed to transparency with the public and earning all of your respect. I am not a newcomer to the county or local government, and it is very important that we have somebody in there with the experience. Thank you.
Okay, so for the questions, they all had their intro. They are going to have uh, a minute 30 to answer questions and a minute 30 in closing. And I want to start with if there's questions in the crowd, if they'd raise their hand, I'll pick a person to ask a question for them. And if they don't pick questions to ask, then I have canned questions from the Republican Party.
Thank you for making yourselves available for questions. My name is Pam Berenson. My question for you is, what is the difference between a proprietary fund and a non-proprietary fund? And give me an example of each one the county has within the budget.
Thank you for the question. I have not dealt with those funds for a while, so that is something that I am going to have to do a little bit more research on, read up on them to make myself a little bit more familiar with them. So at this time, if you'd like to, we can get together another time and I can answer that question for you.
All right, a proprietary fund. Um, I would say a proprietary fund is something that is for a specific purpose. And so if you have something in your budget that is funded, that has something that it directly has to pay for. So if you would have something like a swimming pool, like the city of Yankton when they built the swimming pool, and if they're collecting money for that, then that would be what that would go for. I was looking over the budget for Yankton, and the one I remember seeing that would probably be in that classification would be for the historical district, because that was a separate line item that would go to pay that specific thing. So
Thank you for those answers. Is there any other crowd questions for the auditors?
Probably for all of our taxpayers, how are Yankton County property taxes figured or processed?
okay, so the Yankton County property taxes um, would begin with the Department of Equalization, and they're going to come around and assess your property, and then they give it an equalized value to sort of even it out as far as how it would relate to the other properties. Then that value would there's an assessment percentage that goes along with that. And so if you have a commercial property, it would be different than if you had an ag property or an owner occupied. So if you own a house and you live there, you would get owner occupied. If someone else lives there or you rent it out, then that would not be owner occupied. And so then that is a percentage that is calculated into that. And then that would be multiplied by the tax levy. So basically, it's a mathematical formula where you have the equalized value multiplied by the assessed rate, and then divide it by 1,000 and multiply it by the levy. And the levy would be a number that is calculated based on the amount of money that's budgeted and what is needed in order to offset the expenses so that it evens out in your budget, because you have to be able to pay for what you're spending. So you want your income and to even out. So they calculate it like that.
Okay, so there is a lot of parts to that. We're going to start with, yes, the assessor's office does go around every location. They take the percentage of what the houses are going for around them. Once they get all of that calculated, they take into different parts of it. Part of that coming from the city, the municipality will actually set forth a lot of the levies that do then also go over to it. Once that is all put together, the treasurer's office, the auditor's office formulates all of that with the levies, the TIFs, anything on part of that with a percentage. And then that also then will go over to the treasurer's office where they will go ahead and check it over and all of that. And I believe at that point, that is when it will go out to the public. Levies get a little bit confusing, but most of the time those are set by the municipality. So once she gathers all of the information from all of the different departments that play a role in it, then we can calculate it out with the formula.
All right, thank you for that answer. Is there anybody else have a question? All right, I'm going to start with the top of the list here. How closely does the auditor work with other departments?
That is a great question. They work very closely together, very closely. There is a very strong bond, and I have been a part of that bond, and I still have that bond with them. The departments have to work together. So if the treasurer's office and the auditor's office do not work together, your property taxes don't get done. They don't get paid. The delinquent taxes don't get done. On top of the budgeting, every department at the county actually handles their own budget. They bring those all together. They all bring them together to take them to the commission. If the departments do not work together, the county does not run properly. The treasurer's office works with the auditor on the property taxes. Then they go over there, they collect the delinquents, they work together on the levies, property sales tax if we have any auctions on those, and then also the money from equalization, the deeds, sheriff's office, ambulance, equalization, they all come down. All that money runs through the treasurer's office and the auditor's office, and therefore they all need to work together to keep the county running smoothly.
Um, so as far as how the auditor's office would work with all of the other departments, I think the biggest thing is that they touch every single department a lot because the auditor's office is also responsible for the payroll, making sure everybody gets paid, calculating their vacation time, making sure that they have the days off that they are required, helping with their insurance, and answering questions like that. So they definitely have to work with each department in that regard. They also have to work with each department to make sure that the bills for each of those departments gets paid. The auditor also has to work with each department in setting up and going over their budgets to make sure that what is being presented to the county commission is accurate and correct. And so that would be a major thing that they do as well. And then as far as the whole part about the property taxes, of course, you would have to work with the Department of Equalization as they are assessing with the treasurer's office, with the billing, and in the treasurer's office, that's where you go pay your property tax. So then you would work with them, and they would have to reconcile each day. I believe they reconcile all of their money so that they can make sure that everything is accurate and correct on a daily basis.
All right, this will be the fourth question. Technically, that would be the last one unless you guys want to answer a fifth one. We've been going at a pretty good clip, so it's up to you if you want to answer the fifth one on the list. But the next one will be, what is the auditor's part in the county budget?
All right, so I think I kind of answered that already, but really the auditor oversees the paperwork of it, the reporting of it, the communicating of it to people, making sure that it's understood by the commissioners and that it's presented. It's not the responsibility of the auditor to set the budget. That would be the job of the county commission, but they would work together to make sure that that is done well.
Okay, so the auditor's position for the budget. They handle their own budget and they reconcile with everybody else to bring all the information to the commissioners so the commissioners can make an accurate decision on whether the budgets get approved for each department. That is not left up to each department. It is just their responsibility to get it to the auditor to take to the commission. On top of that, it is their responsibility to manage that budget and the funds and make sure that every day they are audit ready. We need to make sure that every day we're audit ready. I have experience with working with millions of dollars. It's not fun to find an error, whether it's a dollar or a penny, and every penny matters. I think at that point, that's what their role is in the budget.
Thank you. Would you guys like to answer the fifth question or want to move on to the next section? All right, last question will be, can you explain the role of committee precinct man and woman and how they are elected?
I've been so focused on researching other stuff, this wasn't top on my list, but we'll go ahead and answer this one. Okay, so from my understanding, just my personal experience, they are to go and help support and represent the Republican Party at different locations. I believe they help put things on like this together tonight, so we can all be here and communicate and talk together. But it could be wrong. Like I said, I haven't done a lot of research on that. So I think that's the main goal, is there to help the Republican Party find our a list of registered Republican voters to give then to the auditor, so she can pick from that list and make sure that we have accurate election workers, and things like that. They assist out with the elections and the Republican people.
Excuse me. So, I'm sorry. All right. Committeemen and women are an elected position within the Republican Party. And so, if you are a Central Committee man or woman, that is a position within the Yankton County Republican Central Committee, and you have a vote at the meetings. So, if you are signing up to be a committee man or woman, that's what you're signing up for, to be a part of the Republican Party, to come to the Central Committee meetings and have a voice. And you get a vote at the meetings. So when we make decisions, like we had a meeting a few weeks ago to vote on our poll workers for the election. And so the committeemen and women are the ones who vote on that decision. They are elected for each precinct. So we have 22 precincts, and there's a man and a woman for each precinct. If we have, so you don't have to fill out a petition unless you're going for an at-large position, which would be countywide, but you would sign up to be in your precinct. So if we have more than one person sign up in your precinct, then it will be on the ballot. And so that is why we are going to have 14 different ballots for the Republican Party at the primary on June 2nd, because they have a lot of precincts have voting on their precinct people.
Thank you very much for all your answers. And I hope you both do well in the running.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
closing between both of you.
All right, I'll start with my closing. Here's what I stand for. I stand for transparent financial oversight. Taxpayers deserve to know exactly how their money is managed. I will prioritize clear reporting, accessible public records, and consistent internal controls that prevent waste, fraud, and mismanagement before they happen. I also stand for secure, accurate, and accessible elections. Confidence in elections is foundational. I will ensure every ballot is handled with care, every procedure follows the law, and every voter, regardless of party, can trust the process. Election integrity is not partisan, it's a public promise. I also stand for modern, efficient systems. Government should work as efficiently as the families and businesses who fund it. I will advocate for updated technology, streamlined processes, and strong staff training so the auditor's office delivers accurate results on time, every time. I also stand for service over politics. The office should never be about personal agendas, it should be about service. I will operate with professionalism, respect for the law, and a commitment to treating every resident fairly. The county auditor doesn't set the spotlight but holds the foundation. When the office works well, the entire county works better. I'm asking for your support to bring steady leadership, financial accountability, and public trust to this critical role. Together, we can ensure our county government remains transparent, responsible, and worthy of the people it serves. I'm ready to serve with integrity and precision. I would be honored to earn your vote.
Okay, I guarantee you I'm not taking the full minute 30 here. So I'm just going to start by saying, we all know 90% of what the county auditor does is finance. That leaves 10% for elections, licensing, all the other things they do. The licensing, the levies, the payroll. That's a big part, but 90% of it is finances. I am not a newcomer to the county. I have a great working experience with the county workers. And at the end of the day, experience matters. I have dealt with millions of dollars, handled all of that. I won't fully be learning on the job. And so all I can say is experience matters. We need somebody in there with the experience on how the county operates, the way the county runs. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Sarah.